Well, good evening, everyone. Appreciate you joining us for our November 5th speaker series presentation from Western Cuyahoga Audubon. I think you'll really enjoy it this evening. So how about our next slide, please? Again, welcome everyone. A couple things I'm going to mention are Purple Martin Meriton project. Who wrote that? Who wrote that? Our Purple Martin project, the new bird-friendly glass campaign. There was an ornithology class being offered, and of course the Christmas count. So let's move on there, Michelle, please. All righty. So just wanted to let everybody know that Western Cuyahoga Audubon, has planned to put a Purple Martin condo and gourds at the Cuyahoga County Fairgrounds, and it is a go. They are thrilled, absolutely thrilled that they want to partner with us and have the Martin House installed there. I'm going to be ordering the house, the gourds, the pole, everything very shortly, probably next week. And the most important thing is we really do need some volunteers that will monitor the martins at least once a week, once the martins return, which is around April 1st. Then they leave around September 1st, actually a little earlier, but I just wanted to give us a little bit of flex room. So we will have all the volunteers trained, and we want everybody to be a good Martin landlord. So please contact me, real easy, Nancy Howell at WCAudubon.org. But we may not get Martins the first year, I don't know, but we hope we do. But I'm really thrilled about this project. And we may be, I'm not going to say for sure, we may be the only county fairgrounds with a Martin in Ohio with a Martin structure. So I'm excited about this. So please step up to volunteer. Next, please. All right, perhaps you've heard that the Cleveland Cavaliers are having a training and performance complex that is going to be constructed on the east side of the Cuyahoga River at Collision Bend. Right now I am working or contacting the folks at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, at least the people that I know who were instrumental in getting the bird-friendly stickers or glass things on the on Rocket Mortgage. So I'm finding out who will be here on this particular structure. I will keep everybody tuned, staying tuned. So maybe we will need to do a letter writing campaign. I'm not quite sure. But this is the kind of stuff that we need all of our members and people to really pay attention to what's going on in the news. Stuff gets built. We don't know about it. We need to protect the birds. So anyhow, stay tuned. I'm going to try to keep everyone informed. Next, please. As I mentioned, there is an ornithology class being offered at the Tri-C Eastern Campus. And you see their spring semester starts January 14th and runs through May 6th. It's on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 to 11:45 in the morning. And Dr. Sean Williams is the instructor. I do know a couple of folks that may be on our Zoom call here or our Zoom event who have taken the class. So hope maybe they'll speak up and say, hey, it's worth it. And I think this for seniors, hopefully I'm correct. I think for seniors, there is no cost. All right. So again, for those who may have taken the course, but you may want to contact Sean Williams at tric.edu and see if you want to do the program. I hope you do. Next, please. Of course, Christmas bird count 2024. Yay. It's Saturday, December 28th. The big black circle is our count circle. By the way, our count circle is called the Lakewood Circle, even though it's not centered in Lakewood. But you can see it goes well out into Lake Erie. It does cross the Cuyahoga County into Lorain County border on the west side. Down south, it runs to Berea. I generally use the turnpike as our kind of limiting area down further south, and then to the east into Cleveland, Brooklyn, those areas. We need people to need folks to sign up with a group. So please contact me. There I am again, Nancy Howell at WCAudubon.org. So I hope that you'll join us for the Christmas bird count. All day, part of the day, doesn't matter. Your backyard, if you have a feeder in your yard in this count circle, that counts too. Next, please. And of course, keep informed through our newsletter. You can sign up for our e-newsletter at the link that you see there. And of course, become a member of Western Cuyahoga Audubon. Hit our website. I think that's it for me. So let's see who's next. Michelle, you're next.
I'm next. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm going to talk about our upcoming bird walks as well as how you can connect with us on social media. And that photo there of the northern saw-whet owl, I was fortunate enough to attend a field trip with the Western Reserve Land Conservancy this past weekend and go to Kelly's Island to observe the bird banding. So that is a northern saw-whet owl that got banded. A second Saturday bird walk is coming up this Saturday, November 9th at 9 o'clock a.m. We meet at the Rocky River Nature Center in the parking lot between the upper and lower parking lots. And then we take a few hours to walk the Nature Center trails. Bill Diner, Dave Cross-Kemper, Ken Gober, and Al Rand are our leaders for that walk. That picture of a white-throated sparrow was not taken at the Nature Center, a little bit north on Valley Parkway, so still in the reservation, and is an example of what you will see this Saturday. We also have the Tremont Towpath Urban Bird Walk coming up on November 23rd. That's a Saturday at 9 o'clock a.m. We meet at the Towpath Public Parking Lot on Abbey Avenue. Just west of the former Sokolowski's University Inn. Nancy Howell and Al Rand will be our leaders for that walk. And that Savannah sparrow was not taken in Tremont, but that was taken at our recent field trip to Litchfield Wetlands Nature Preserve that happened this past Saturday. And then follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. I post all of our recorded meetings on YouTube, like the speaker series, and we have a book club. So if you follow us on YouTube, you won't miss any of those events. And there I have a picture of a fiery skipper, and that was taken at Huntington Reservation. All right, that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Mary Ann, did you want to mention your Climate Watch? Mary Ann Romito is our Climate Watch coordinator for Northeast Ohio.
Hi there, thank you. Yes, Audubon's Climate Watch is a program that they started a few years ago after they wrote the report that said it was talking about survival by degrees. And that was the big report that made the big time publicity on the television, that how we've lost so many species already during our lifetime. And Audubon is, let's go to the next slide. Audubon is doing this survey, and it's a long-term survey And we do it twice a year, in January and in January, February, and in May, June for the spring count. But for the winter count, which we're going to do between January 15th and February 15th. This is an easy to do survey. And if you want to advance to the next slide, this is all the information that you need. You want to just take a picture of this slide. If you want to watch the Climate Watch video where I describe how we do a survey, it's probably the easiest thing to do. And then if you want to get in touch with me to volunteer to do a square, you can either put your name and contact information in the chat, and I'll pick it up from there, or you can do it the old-fashioned way and give me a call or email me and let me know. It's a fun survey to do. Now, I admit in the wintertime it's a bit cold, and you can do your survey anytime between January 15th and February 15th. We have a big day, which is going to be January the 18th, which we're hoping that everybody just goes out, gets it done, and moves on. But if the weather is bad, don't go out. And it is going to be winter, so you never know what's going to happen. I think that's about it. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah,
Okay.
please toss questions in the chat, and Marianne can take a look and get back with you, or if you're interested. Thanks, Marianne. All righty. Oh, wow. Our book discussion series. We're in season 5 already, and Drina Nemes is our coordinator. We've got some fabulous books coming up. When we just finished one not too long ago. Drina.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Next slide, please. Yes, as Nancy just mentioned, we're into our 5th season. We just finished up 10 Birds That Changed the World. It is available at our website, recorded. But coming up, and let me be the first to wish everybody a happy new year, because we'll be in the new year by then. January 21st, it's a Tuesday. The Birds That Audubon Missed: Discovery and Desire in the American Wilderness. Then coming up in April, we'll read The Big Year, A Tale of Man, Nature, and Fowl Obsession. Next slide, please. And we'll also watch the movie that it's based on the same book. Now, I just learned that one of the big birders, that Sandy Comito, who was played by Owen Wilson in the movie, died just this past September. So I did find an interview that I will publish in one of our next issues. It's a wonderful interview with him, and he explains what it was like to do a big year and how really, really hard it was. Next slide, please. But for this next book that we'll be reading, it's kind of fun that Ken Kaufman we can kind of claim him as an Ohioan now, and he is so involved with the big year and has done so much for birding over all the decades. And from the cover of the jacket, it reads, "Renowned naturalist Ken Kaufman examines the scientific discoveries of John James Audubon and his artistic and ornithologist peers to show how what they saw and what they missed reflects how we perceive and understand the natural world." Next slide, please. I was so happy to find this fabulous digital access to an interview with Ken Kaufman about the book from the Audubon magazine itself. It is just outstanding. And on this slide, you can see a painting here, and that's actually by Ken Kaufman. He is an artist as well. And part of what his book is about is that some of those birds that Audubon missed, Ken has taken up his paintbrush, and he has made his own rendition. kind of in the style of Audubon himself. He also tried to use the same kind of paper and paint. So he really tried to get into what Audubon was doing. Next slide, please. Also within that interview and that digital site, there is a link to this fabulous Audubon website within the Audubon, the major Audubon website itself. And here is one of Audubon's plates of the Lincoln Sparrow. Next slide, please. And this shows you the Audubon website. It is just fabulous. You can look up any plate that Audubon did by what type of bird it is. There's a way to search, and it's just a wealth of information and beautiful to look at as well too. Next slide, please. And then I always like to give a few words about David Lindo, our friend. And coming up just a week from yesterday, next Monday, will be what looks to be a really fascinating interview with two men who wrote books about flycatchers with lots and lots of ways to identify them. So it will be at 2 p.m. our time because it's given at 7 p.m. there in England. And I think that is my last slide. I think. It is. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Drina. And I do encourage folks to sign up to join our book discussions. They're really, Drina does a fabulous job of pulling things together and our discussions. So again, thank you. Amanda is working the poll, so I will just mention a real quick thing. So let's move to the next slide, please. Of course, we sell the Birds and Beans bird-friendly coffee. We send the order in quarterly. Just sent one in October, so our next orders are going in on January 10th. We would like your order in by January 9th. But if when you hit our website and go to the Bird Friendly Coffee Club tab, please look at all the different roasts and grinds. I mean, you can get whole bean, you can get espresso, you can get fine ground, different size bags, just really quite a variety. So, and really, this is good coffee, freshly roasted. We deliver it to you, so if we get enough orders in, that we get free shipping, and then Amanda Sabrowski does deliver right to your home, or if you have a meeting place that you would like her to deliver to, that's possible too. So please take a look. Think about your coffees. Remember, it'll be winter at that time, and a nice hot cup of coffee is always good. Thank you. Next. All righty. I do want to mention our December speaker, and our December program will be live at the library on Lorraine Road, Fairview Park Library branch. And we will also Zoom it out. And our speaker is Gary Jerome, who is a naturalist, a writer, a musician, and much more. And his program is I Only Bird While I'm Awake. It sounds hilarious, and I think you'll have a real enjoyable time if you are able to attend either in person or via Zoom. So we do both things at the Fairview Park branch of the Cuyahoga County Public Library live, but then we also Zoom it out to folks who may not be able to attend in person. But this evening, next slide. This evening, we are going to have information about the evolution of the Lake Erie Birding Trail by Jamey Emmert. who is the Avian Education Coordinator for the Ohio Division of Natural Resources. The title, From Shoreline to Skies, The Evolution of the Lake Erie Birding Trail. Maybe some of you have seen the signage for that trail. Next, please. So Jamey, as I mentioned, is the Avian Education Coordinator. And she's a 2003 graduate of Hocking College with an associate degree in wildlife management. Jamey has been with the division since that same year. Her role encompasses a wide range of responsibilities, including managing the Lake Erie Birding Trail program, conducting educational workshops, and collaborating with other educators on conservation initiatives. Outside of work, Jamey enjoys traveling, hunting, fishing, artifact hunting, native plant gardening, and birding, of course, often alongside her husband Greg and their 2 canine companions. The dogs have life lists longer than most human lists, for the record. So without further ado, let's have Jamey bring her screen up, and I can't wait for this evening's program.
Thank you, Nancy. What a warm and wonderful welcome. I appreciate that very much. Give me just a second so I can swap the presentation, because you want to see presenter screen and you're seeing my notes at the moment, correct? How's that look?
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and if I advance, did it advance?
Yes, it did.
Okay, great. That's good news. And then ooh, I have to back out for just a second, I believe. Nancy, didn't I have to hit a button to tell it to share my audio when you and I practiced?
I thought on your end, yes, there was something that you did have to hit. I know I didn't do anything.
Oh, yep, I see it.
Okay.
Thanks for your patience, everyone. It's a little ever so slightly delayed. Okay, how does that look? Is that in presenters mode?
Yeah, looks
Um,
good.
Yep.
Great, thank you. I thought I lost audio there for a moment. Okay, so thank you so much, everyone, for being here tonight and sharing your time with me and the Western Cuyahoga Audubon. Hopefully we help ease a little bit of anxiety you might be feeling tonight. I can't imagine why. There's something going on today, I think. But we're going to talk about birds and Lake Erie and Lake Erie birding and try to get our minds off of other things for a little bit. So again, my name is Jamey, and I'm with the ODNR Division of Wildlife. And if you're not familiar with ODNR, that means the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. And we consist of many different divisions within ODNR. So you might be familiar with Division of State Parks and Watercraft, or Division of Forestry, Division of Oil and Gas. We are all tasked with protecting natural resources here in the Buckeye State. And as you can imagine, I represent Division of Wildlife, and we are tasked with protecting our wildlife species here in Ohio, ranging from birds to mammals to reptiles and amphibians and fish and insects. And so we have hundreds of employees who protect thousands of wildlife species in Ohio, and we're best known for a few things, including setting hunting regulations and fishing regulations to protect wildlife species, and encouraging people to get outside and just enjoying nature, which is a big part of my job, and doing it all in a sustainable manner so that we can protect our wildlife populations long term, but yet still enjoy them responsibly. So a little bit of background about the state government agency for whom I represent, but we're here tonight to talk about the Lake Erie Birding Trail. So I can't see the chat right now, but hopefully if you know about the Lake Erie Birding Trail already, I'd love for you to drop it in the chat so I can see it later, and just see what some of the chatter is about, and if you've enjoyed the Lake Erie Birding Trail thus far. And we'll talk more about its history in a few minutes, but I just want to introduce it to you first. So welcome to the Lake Erie Birding Trail program, covering hundreds of Ohio shoreline miles from Conneaut along the Pennsylvania border to Swanton, which is on the Indiana border. The trail includes over 80 of the lake's greatest birding locales. And if you're familiar with some of the hot spots further inland, you'll see that some of them are even as far as 30 minutes inland. And we just simply couldn't resist the temptation of some of these sites. They were too good to pass up. And 30 minutes drive isn't too big of a deal for birding, at least in my humble opinion. So the Lake Erie shore and its immediate environs offer some of the best birding in the Great Lakes region. And we were able to create a guidebook that accompanies a website, and that resulted from a partnership between ODNR divisions of wildlife and coastal management and the Ohio Sea Grant program. We also received funding and support from ODOT to make the metal highway signs happen that identifies every one of the 88 hotspots along the shoreline. So tonight, in the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to cover what the purpose is of the Lake Erie Birding Trail program, its past, present, and a little sneak peek into its future, and how to get more involved if you aren't already. But before we move on, here's a little quiz for you. This is the #1 hotspot #1, not the best of the best, although it's really good. It's just labeled as hotspot #1. Do you recognize it? Maybe drop it in the chat and see if we have anyone who knows this really great spot, especially great for winter birding on the most brutal days. Are we getting any responses, Michelle or Nancy?
Nothing yet.
Well, I'll give you the answer. This is Conneaut Harbor. I especially like it because I'm a freeze baby. No matter what I do my entire life, I've spent much of it cold all the time. So you can see a pictured here is my state van, and I can bird right from my van, right on the harbor until, well, that's odd. I did not touch anything in advance. I can bird right from my vehicle, and then I can step out if something really stellar flies by. But if it's brutally cold outside, I could be in the comfort of my van. So this is really advantageous for those of us who want or must stay inside our vehicles. And if you're at Conneaut Harbor in the winter, you might be fortunate enough to experience these beautiful creatures flying by. You might recognize them as brant, small geese that are occasionally seen in the winter time. And if you don't see them, maybe you'll hear them pass by. So turn on your speakers, turn up your volume. Anybody hear that? Okay, hopefully you can. I'm going to move on. So what is the purpose of the Lake Erie birding program, the birding trail program? Well, first, we celebrate biodiversity with the program. So the birding trail offers access to some of the most diverse birding habitats in the entire region. It spans over 300 miles and includes nearly 90 sites. These sites are home to a variety of species, including migratory birds that rely on the Lake Erie shoreline as a critical stopover habitat during these long journeys of theirs. By supporting the trail, birders help protect these vital habitats and ensure that birds have a safe place to rest, feed, and to breed. The attention to conservation. So I keep using that word conservation. And for those of you who may be unfamiliar, conservation basically, simply put, means to use wisely. Preservation is another word that we use commonly in ODNR. There's no right or wrong. Preservation is right as conservation in some aspects. But with Division of Wildlife, we want people to go out and enjoy wildlife. just to do so in a responsible manner. And that's basically what conservation means, is to use wisely. So the trail plays a crucial role in bird conservation. So by bringing attention to important bird areas and promoting responsible bird watching practices, the Lake Erie Birding Trail helps raise awareness about the need to protect bird habitats. Birders who support the trail are contributing to the preservation of these environments, which is essential for maintaining bird populations. And the economic impact. Let's talk about how the birding trail contributes significantly to the local economy. So birders spend money on lodging and dining and equipment. We all know this. We all shell out money out of our own pockets to enjoy this fantastic hobby. And events like the biggest week in American birding attracts thousands of visitors from all over the world, which ultimately generates millions of dollars annually for that region. So let's dive deeper into that topic, shall we? Birding brings bucks. So wildlife viewers poured $1.6 billion into Ohio's economy in 2022, the most recent survey put out by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So $1.6 billion by wildlife viewers. This supported over 11,000 jobs. Wildlife watchers, by the way, are defined as observing, feeding, and photographing wildlife. So let's look at the buckeye birds. So Ohio boasts more than 4 million wildlife watchers. That means that almost 35% of Ohioans are into wildlife. Music to our ears, right? About 91% of those self-identified wildlife viewers looked for birds, but we can all agree that we take interest in other wildlife too, right? Like mammals, insects, reptiles, and amphibians. So wildlife viewers are out there looking for all sorts of creatures with an emphasis on birds. And again, this includes photographers. Wildlife viewers are likely to stay very close to home, with about a third of these participants staying within 10 miles to enjoy their hobby. And a third of wildlife viewers here in Ohio also relied on public land. So this emphasizes the importance of making these recreation areas very accessible. Oh, and I forgot to advance, sorry about that, got into the zone. So here are some bullet points on what I just mentioned, that we have over 4 million wildlife viewers in the state, 35% of residents, most of whom are looking for birds but enjoying other wildlife too. Most stay near home and rely on public lands. So let's look on a national level. So over 146.5 million Americans enjoy watching wildlife, over a third of the American population, half of whom identify as bird watchers specifically. If we take that figure, 146.5 million Americans, this compares to something else that's a really big deal here in the United States. I'm not necessarily a fan, but most of my friends and family members are. Maybe you are too. 150 million Americans are fans of football. So you can compare wildlife watching as big a deal as the NFL, which I think speaks volumes. And wildlife watchers contribute $250 billion a year, more than that actually. And birders specifically contribute to $36 billion a year. So I'm throwing all these numbers at you. It ultimately results in an $82 billion economic impact to the United States. This is wildlife watching with an emphasis on birding. This includes food, lodging, equipment, fuel, all the stuff that we spend money on in order to enjoy our hobbies. I'm getting all this information. If you want to know more, you can look up the 2022 National Survey by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. It's put out every decade or so. And then we as in the ODNR Division of Wildlife, we partnered with Responsive Management, the Wildlife Management Institute, and Southwick Associates last year to learn more about exactly what's going on here in the Buckeye State. So to get even a better pulse on what wildlife viewers and birders are doing here in Ohio. So both of these reports are available online. I can provide you the link if you are interested, or just Google it. But you can learn all sorts of really fun stuff if you're into that kind of thing. But basically, my whole point of this is that birding means business and is so economically important. Let me put it in terms that maybe make a little bit more sense and offers a little bit more perspective. So I bet most of you, if not every single one of you, recognizes this picture, even if you've not been there. This is the horseshoe, right? The shoe at the Ohio State University. I wish we could interact right now because I would ask you, how many people do you think fit comfortably in the shoe? And I'm using comfortably loosely, like basically how many seats does the shoe offer? And you might be aware that it's almost 105,000 people can fit into the shoe. So if we fill the shoe with wildlife watchers, we'd have to build 35 more stadiums for a total of 36 stadiums to fit all of Ohio birding enthusiasts. And you've probably already contributed this much. No, I know I have, but imagine every single one of these people in all 36 stadiums writing a $390 check to the state of Ohio. This is the impact that birds have on Ohioans. It's just absolutely remarkable. So to get back on track, a few more compelling reasons why birders, or all Ohioans for that matter, should support the Lake Erie Birding Trail. So we promote educational opportunities. The trail offers birders the chance to learn more about birds and their habitats through interpretive signs, guided tours. Educational programs are available at many sites, often by the property owners, the partnering organizations of the trail, like metro parks, county parks, civic parks, cemeteries, the list goes on and on. So they provide valuable information about species that can be observed. Supporting the trail means supporting these educational initiatives. We all know how important education and awareness is to conservation. And to that end, what is also so important to conservation is citizen science or community science. So birders who visit the birding trail can contribute to science projects such as those organized by the Cornell Bird Lab. By recording their observations, birders can help scientists track bird populations, migratory patterns, and other important data. So this information is obviously vital for understanding and protecting bird species in their region. So overall, supporting the trail is a way for birders to ensure that these valuable resources remain available for future generations of both birds and bird watchers. Let's take a step back and talk a little bit about how the Lake Erie Birding Trail came to be. So it was launched back in 2011, and it had been worked on for a couple of years, and it was officially launched in 2011. Over 40 organizations are represented in the guidebook, which used to be available for sale, and they've been out of stock, those guidebooks, for quite a long time now because we've been waiting on an update, and I am so pleased to tell you that that update is happening right now. And the original trail consisted of 88 sites, and we had about 24 people from various organizations working on the guidebook, the website, and pulling everything together, getting the highway signs at each one of the 88 sites placed. The program was spearheaded by ODNR Division of Wildlife, but we received tremendous support from Ohio Sea Grant, publication and graphic artist extraordinaire Greg Aylesworth. The Ohio Department of Transportation helped make and distribute the signs, and then we received generous funding from NOAA through the Old Woman Creek National Estuary Reserve. So that was the original program, and this is a map of the original trail. So you can see, starting out east on the Pennsylvania border, we had a sneak peek at Conneaut Harbor a few minutes ago. That's site number 1. And then as you move westward toward Indiana, you can see all the sites that stretch along the shoreline. So there's 7 different loops. A number of sites are broken out into each loop, starting with Ashtabula Loop furthest out to the east, and then traveling west to the Oak Openings Loop. So 7 total loops, and over 400 species of birds have been documented in the Lake Erie Birding Trail. You might recognize, if you have a copy or have seen a copy of the guide, this is what the site profile looks like. Every single one of the 88 sites has its own individual profile, so you can get some more background information about the site, what to see, how to get there, where the entrances are, so on and so forth. Let's stop for a second, take another quiz. Do you recognize this site? I hope you do. It's such a gem. What's that beautiful
I can
city?
answer that one. Yep, and other people have.
Oh, good, good. I'm glad to hear it, Nancy.
Yeah, Cleveland Lakefront Nature Preserve.
Of course, yeah, see the beautiful cityscape in the background. Over 280 species have been recorded at this site to date, including this beautiful little organism. Michelle already shared with us a fantastic photo of one. Here's another. If you have your speakers on and your volume up. Has anyone ever got to hear a saw-whet hoot? Some folks say that it sounds like a truck backing up. Doot, 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 doot. I heard one in Michigan, not Ohio, but it still counts, right? So hopefully if you've been to Lakefront Nature Preserve, you've seen saw-whets, or hopefully someday you do. It's such a good spot for saw-whet owls in the colder months. If you're familiar with the original 88 sites, we have made some changes. So many of us are probably aware that the East Lake Seawall, which was originally site number 18, closed a long time ago. That was on the Cleveland area loop. And Perry's Victory Monument did not close, it's still standing, so don't be alarmed if you are a fan of that monument. We have just made some changes, and we made a change to Maumee Rapids, which is site 86 as well. So we replaced East Lake Seawall with Chagrin River Park. I was just there a few days ago. If you haven't been, I highly, highly recommend it. And we decided that a better location for birders and for birds is to replace Perry's Victory's monument with North Bass Island State Park, which is now site 68 in the Lake Erie Islands loop. And then we thinned down the Maumee Rapids, which was a number of different sites, sub-sites, and it's just Side Cut Metro Park now, but there's mention within the site profile of other locales to see the Maumee River and to see particular bird species at different spots. So while we want you to start out at Side Cut Metro Park in the Oak Openings Loop, we have other information about other places to visit too. And we added another site that didn't exist when the program was launched back in 2011. Just a few days ago, we made the decision to add Osborne Metro Park in the Sandusky Bay Loop. We've heard so many good things about it, and we decided that we just couldn't pass it up. This park features a mix of woodland and wetlands and prairies, and so there's so much variety of species offered at this park. It's particularly active in the spring, so you can see all sorts of warblers, 5 species of vireos, scarlet tanagers, yellow-breasted chats have been known to breed there. Eastern bluebirds, so many swallows. So it's really terrific in the spring, of course, but winters are very productive with fox sparrow, red-breasted nuthatch, rusty blackbird. You can see American woodcock if you go in the spring. Great horned owls and eastern screech owls are much more present in the winter, so you just can't go wrong. So if you are a winter birder, you won't be disappointed with the possibilities of seeing saw-whets and long-eared owls. Short-eared owls are even a possibility over their livestock field, and even red poles, and there was a scissor-tailed flycatcher seen there once. So nearly 150 species of birds have been documented at Osborne Metro Park. And I mentioned being a freeze baby. If you like to be warm while you're birding in the winter, I suggest that you visit the beautiful Roger Johnson Nature Center at Osborne Metro Park. They have a windows on wildlife where you can sit and be nice and cozy and drink some bird-friendly coffee and still do your bird watching. So please consider checking it out. I mentioned that we made an addition to the Lake Erie Islands. So we are still looking at considerations for the islands, but we definitely added North Bass Island State Park. Do you recognize this spot? Has anybody been here out west? This is a hot spot in the western Lake Erie Marshes Loop.
Howard Marsh.
Indeed, thank you. That's right. Have you been to Howard Marsh? I hope so. Another really stellar gem of a place. That's the number one question I get is about the Lake Erie Birding Trail revision is why isn't Howard Marsh Metro Park on the Lake Erie Birding Trail? Well, it didn't exist back when the trail was established. So we haven't revised the trail since 2011, so we are long overdue. And we most certainly would never overlook Howard Marsh. It's a premier birding hotspot known particularly for waterfowl and shorebirds. At least 260 species have been documented at Howard Marsh. More than half the known species ever recorded in Ohio, if I'm doing my math right. And many rare and unexpected visitors are seen during migration, but not to be dismissed are trumpeter swans, assortment of duck species, ospreys, sandhill cranes, bald eagles, American white pelicans, so many. But you may, if you've been there, hopefully you laid eyes on these two gorgeous creatures, the American avocet and black-necked stilts, which you can hardly find anywhere else in Ohio compared to just walking into Howard Marsh and having them grace you with their presence. So now we're up to 90 hotspots since we added Osborne and Howard Marsh. And then here is another marsh, not to be confused with Howard Marsh, but it is nearby. And I'd venture a guess to say that most of you have been here at one time or another. I'd be remiss not to share with you some exciting stuff about hotspot number 72. And this kind of looks like a whole lot of other wetlands that we might enjoy as birders in Ohio. So here's another picture that may help you better understand which hotspot number 72 is. And if you don't recognize this newly renovated nature center, then these pictures most certainly help you recognize that it's McGee Marsh Wildlife Area, a birding mecca in Northwest Ohio. So this is another view of our renovated visitor center, just a gorgeous place. If you've not been, please go. If you don't do crowds, now is the time to go. Otherwise, if you love people, you're gonna wanna go in the springtime for the birds and the people. And may I add that you see this creature on the right side of your screen, and people from out of state are often really, really shocked. Most of you probably aren't shocked anymore that we have American white pelicans that grace us with their presence along the Lake Erie shoreline. And it's not unusual to be standing on the McGee boardwalk and see a flock flying over many times throughout the day. And if you're not aware, a wonderful bird is a pelican. Its beak holds more than its pelican. It can store enough in its beak to last it a week. I don't know how the hell it can. Oh, sorry, I had to do it. My grandpa would be so proud right now. I think that was one of the first things I ever learned to say as a child. So I had to throw that in there. But I have more pictures just because I love to gloat about how gorgeous this renovation has been and how beautiful the nature center is inside and out. So please try to go if you haven't been, or go back and enjoy it again. So we are identifying that there's some challenges and opportunities with revising the Lake Erie Birding Trail. I have visited all 90 spots, all the 88 original spots, plus Howard Marsh and Osborne Metro Park. And I am disappointed to say that many of our signs are either altogether missing or vandalized. The Site 29 had bullet holes in it in a very urban area, which is just absolutely a shame. And then I found my friend Becca, who's in the picture in the bottom right-hand corner, is holding a sign that she found in storage that was possibly never installed in the first place. So we're not going to let that happen again. And we have a little bit of maintenance to do, but nothing we can't handle. What's this hotspot? Another quiz, real quick, out west. You may not recognize it in this photo, but how about in this photo? You recognize that flower? And it's an endangered species in Ohio.
Is that Lakeside Daisy? Oh, yeah.
It is indeed. Very well done. Yep. I missed the Lakeside Daisy in my visit earlier this summer. They were getting ready to burst. Had it been just a few days later, I think I would have caught the bloom in action, but maybe next year I'll time myself better. But this is a really neat place where you can see 128 species of birds, including merlins, pelicans, sandhills. And here we have our pelicans again. I won't bore you with the limit once more. That is not my belly grumbling. That's what a pelican sounds like if you've never heard one. Just a bunch of series of grunts. So what is our future for the trail? We added some sites, which we'd intended on doing, so we made some progress. We are in the midst of updating the website, which is connected to wildohio.gov. You can find the Lake Erie Birding Trail website easiest by either just Googling it or visiting wildohio.gov. And we are working on adding QR codes for the ease of snapping a picture with the camera on your smartphone and getting straight to the eBird checklist. You can do this from the guidebook that's almost entirely finished being revised. We're getting ready to go to print here in the next month or so after we get the formats all worked out with our graphic artist. And we're going to have a QR code that goes straight to the site profile on the website too. So the guidebook is handy that you're going to have all the information right there in front of you, or you can go to the website for additional information that can be much more readily updated, so we can stay a little bit more timely, a lot more timely rather, with the website than we can with the guidebook. So we're going to work on installing any missing or vandalized signage. So we're going to spend the winter doing that. And then we know that hotspots will continue to evolve, properties will be purchased and expanded. So we're not going to wait another 15 years or so to update the guidebook. We really plan on doing this much more frequently. And we might even build more birding trails throughout the state. I get the question a lot, well, what's so special about Lake Erie? Well, we know Lake Erie is special, but that doesn't mean it's more special than the Ohio River or Central Ohio or Southwest Ohio. So while my heart is up here because this is where I've lived for 20 years, I definitely am not opposed to birding trails elsewhere in the state so that we can all enjoy our birding adventures elsewhere. We're going to have more events planned for 2025 to celebrate the Lake Erie Birding Trail and bring partners together. So please stay tuned. And the newest addition to the Lake Erie Birding Trail is that we're currently building an app. It's going to be a free app through Outer Spatial, which is a platform that we already use with the Division of State Parks and Watercraft. So we are piggybacking on what they've learned so far, and my colleagues are helping us build an app for the Lake Erie Birding Trail. And we hope that that will all be ready by, if the universe is on our side, by March of 2025. So here's a sneak peek. You guys are the first, the very, very first to see the new mock-up for the new guidebook. So this is not an absolute 100% perfect finished profile, but this is what we have in mind. So I'm very thrilled to be able to share this with you and give you a sneak peek as to what we have in our minds for the new guidebook, which will come out next year. So it'll be available online for purchase or at major events like Biggest Week, our Wildlife Diversity Conference in Columbus, other birding fairs and festivals as we can make it available. So we're going to sell it here, there, and everywhere, including online. Our website will hopefully be updated by the time the book comes out, and hopefully the app will be ready for distribution at that point too. So share with everyone you know, please. And if you've not had enough quizzes, then here's one more. What is this hotspot in Northwest Ohio on the Oak Openings Loop if you ventured that far west? It's site number 84. It has a mile-long boardwalk where you can hear yellow rails. Over 200 species have been identified, including Connecticut warblers, but the yellow rails are something special. And if if you're out there and you've heard a yellow rail, that's amazing because the spring peepers generally drown them out, and you have to be there at dusk or dawn to have your best luck. But let's give a listen. All right, so it sounds kind of like two marbles or two rocks being hammered together. So if you've heard that, then you've heard yellow rails, and if you haven't, hopefully next time you hear it, you think of the Lake Erie Birding Trail. You can support the Lake Erie Birding Trail through a number of ways. Obviously, we'd like to see you buy the book and visit our website, check out our app next year when it becomes available. Perhaps you already buy an Ohio Wildlife Legacy stamp. That's a really big deal for us. The money, almost every bit, every cent of the purchase goes back to wildlife diversity right here in the Buckeye State. So thank you for your support. If you're a Legacy stamp supporter, if you are a wetland stamp supporter, if you subscribe to our award-winning Wild Ohio magazine, if you have a cardinal license plate or a bald eagle license plate, virtual hug out to you right now. So thank you so much for supporting wildlife right here in Ohio. And many folks don't realize that even if you don't hunt or fish, the purchase of a hunting or fishing license works the same way. So if you can gift it to friends or family, or buy yourself a hunting or fishing license, that money still comes back to support our agencies and support wildlife conservation and support the habitat in which will protect many, many species. So for instance, if you buy a fishing license, you're going to protect aquatic habitat. That's going to protect bald eagles. It's going to protect fish. It's going to protect reptiles and amphibians that live there, and the list goes on and on. So the money all still comes back to us to support wildlife conservation right here in the Buckeye State. And with every purchase of a Wildlife Legacy stamp now, I'm proud to announce the $1 goes back to the Southern Wings program, which has been around for 15 years. So we're a little late to jump on board, but we finally are able to get our ducks in a row, pun intended, to be able to support this program, which helps protect what we like to refer to as our birds when they're wintering in their wintering grounds. So we can do whatever we can to protect birds right here on our home turf when they're here breeding and spending the warmer months. But in the winter months, there's not a lot that we have been able to do to support our bird populations when they go to Central and South America, for instance. But now with the Southern Wings program, we're working to help support habitat acquisition, habitat protection, building education and awareness where these birds winter. So equally as important. So we're really, really proud to be part of that program. I'll always be grateful to the people on the team for the Lake Erie Birding Trail who have been instrumental in helping me get everything going and get this launch of the new guidebook up and running. So my colleagues, Will Babb, Martin Hampshire, and my boss, Kristen Stanford, Jill from Ohio Sea Grant has been absolutely fantastic. And Greg, our graphic artist, has been so easy to work with. And you, of course, thank you so much for watching tonight and for your support with this program. I'll stick around for questions and comments as long as you'll let me. Thank you so much.
Round of applause. Yay. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much, Jamey. That was fabulous.
Thank you.
And if you would like to either unmute and ask a question or drop a question in the chat, that would be fine. I think you answered at least a couple of questions that folks had. Somebody had mentioned that they wanted the guidebook was unavailable at this point, and you answered as to the reason why you're revising that.
Mhm.
There were a couple of folks that deserve some kudos. They answered your quiz locations.
Wonderful. Thank you for
Yep,
interacting.
yep. And I'm excited about the QR codes and the app.
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, we're trying to bring it into modern times.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Again, I'm not seeing any questions coming in.
Ask Jamie a question.
Oh,
Jamie, how do you get to your North Bass spot?
That's an excellent question. Thank you. So there's a couple of different options. If you don't have a boat and you don't have a friend with a boat, you
I have
still
a
have some.
boat. I don't know a place to dock.
Yeah, so the facilities are being upgraded. If you email me, I can give you some more information. So there's some work being done on North Bass. When I was there just about a month ago, not quite a month ago, there was some extensive renovation happening. So there are dock facilities available. So I can point you in the right direction, put you in touch with the right people so you can plan ahead, and that way you don't have any surprises. But for those of you who don't have a boat, there are options to be ferried over. by a charter, and it's pretty inexpensive, especially if you set it up ahead of time. And I even talked to one birder who took a charter plane over for $50. And he was by himself, and he had the plane drop him off and pick him up a few hours later. And it was pretty easy. And the jumping off point was from South Bass Island. So there are lots of options, and I'm happy to elaborate on that if you reach out to me individually.
Thank you.
But by the way, that information will be in the guidebook.
Getting a lot of thank yous in the chat. So, yep. All righty. Well, again, I hope to see everyone out along the birding trail at one point or another. Boy, there's a lot of places I have not been, so I've got to get out there. But we want to thank you again, Jamey. It's really a great program, and I have a feeling you're going to be really popular because there might be some other Audubon chapters that are like, maybe you'll
I
stick
hope
with
so.
us.
Yep, happy to go on tour.
Yep. Oh, somebody asked, is there a survey somewhere for the birding trail? I'm not sure what kind of survey is being requested.
So there, Paul, are you referring to, we did throw a survey, just a very quick 3-question survey out just for a few days. It was kind of a last minute thing as part of a stakeholders event Division of Wildlife participated in, or actually we hosted it and facilitated it at Maumee Bay with all of our really important partners and stakeholders, researchers and metro parks and county parks and zoos and so on and so forth. So we put the survey out to them, and since we already had it together, we sent it in emails to all of our contacts. But again, it was super quick. It was just 3 questions just to get a pulse on if we were moving in the right direction with the elements that we're keeping in the guidebook compared to the elements that we're putting online and in our app. So that survey has closed, but we do plan on doing more surveys in the future for sure. So we'll be in better contact with the Audubon chapters because we'll be planning further ahead next time.
Okay. All righty. Well, thank you, everyone. We'll see you out on the trail. Remember, volunteer for the Purple Martins, volunteer for Christmas bird count. Keep in contact with us. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.